Coming up on the show, a major change in schools could reshape how thousands of Georgian students are taught. We're going to look at what it means for the state's classrooms. Also, we all know takeout is quick and easy, but what's the real cost of convenience? A new survey reveals some surprising numbers. We're going to have that for you coming up. And there's a new person in charge of the nation's VFW. We're going to meet her about this historic new assignment coming up. This is The Take. Let's get it. Hello and welcome. I'm Chesley McNeil, and this is The Take, where we go above and beyond the headlines. And we look at the why and how stories are impacting your community and you, of course. We invite the experts in to share their take on today's top stories, try to have just a little bit of fun as well. Let's get started today with this. A new FBI report is shedding light on what crime really looks like inside of America's schools, painting a complex picture of what incidents happen and what drives them and how safety challenges are evolving. The report says that more than 1 million criminal incidents occurred in schools from 2020 to 2024, which involved roughly 1.5 victims and 1.2 million known offenders. It found most incidents happen in September, and many of them outside of the traditional school hours. Most common incidents, assault, accounting for more than a third of all reports, and the vast majority of those involved the incidences involve what the FBI is calling personal weapons like fists, hands, teeth, and feet. Wow. And while the FBI's numbers lay out the scope of what's happening in our schools, the real question now is how we make sense of all those figures and what it means for students, parents, and the community moving forward. Let's bring in friend of the show, Dr. Thaddeus Johnson. He's assistant professor of the Department of Criminal Justice and Criminology at Georgia State. Dr. Thaddeus, welcome back to the show, man.
Hey, thanks for having me.
All right. So when you hear these numbers, right, we're looking at this and we're looking at trying to see in schools and what's becoming a little bit more dangerous, it seems, or are we just better at reporting these incidents? Which one is it? Is it more crime, or are we just, it's always been there and we're better at reporting it?
Well, let me say this is a little bit of both. And the one thing that I will say is that there are caveats about the data. 21, 22. You really can't use those for a comparison. Those are not apples to apples. But 23 and 24, we can look at. And even though that we saw that there was more participation and more people involved in providing data, what we did see was that the actual rate actually decreased between 23 and 24. And so we know that most of these are assaults. Most of these are not gun assaults, not knife assaults. And so what we're seeing is a lot of personal conflict inside of our schools. And it's also important to know that this is not just for students and staff. This includes any crime that was reported at a school before, during, or after school hours. So it's important to kind of take those caveats. But this data does provide us to get a picture of what things look like inside of the schools. But I can't tell you whether it's getting worse or not, because there's no evidence for that.
Will those numbers help us? Will they help us to make the schools safer, you think?
Yeah, absolutely, because it tells us who our offenders are. We know that there are young males 13 to 15. We also know that 13 to 15 for those under 18 was the victim group, so we know the who. We also know that it's not guns, it's not knives, that generally is personal conflict, it's fisticuffs. So we know that we can deal with everyday problems, prevent de-escalate assaults, bring in additional security, bring in policy, bring in training, and again, conflict de-escalation and conflict resolution for our students, tighten theft prevention, and also intensify drug prevention and things like that. So these are things that I was dealing with in school, and that was 1,000 years ago, and we still have those things, but there's no evidence, again, that things are getting worse or that most of these crimes involve guns or weapons.
So let's look at it from a parent's perspective, right? I mean, the number one question is my kid safe in school? We talked about these cell phones, and they want the kids to have the cell phone just in case they need to be alerted and that kind of thing. What does the data, what can you see from the data that helps out moms and dads right now? How should they be feeling right now?
Yeah, absolutely. They should feel safe. I know we see things on the news, right? But if we're looking at the actual race that we see on campus versus race other places, it's a little bit better, a little bit safer than it is in some general locations. So they should feel good about that. Also know that, again, most of these are not gun crimes or very serious crimes. What they look like are those traditional school fights that we generally see on and around campus. And also, I know we see things on the news and they grab our attention, but we cannot govern our lives off of anecdotes. The evidence shows that things are just as safe as it has been. In fact, from 2010 to 2022, we saw that our schools were being safer in another victimization report. And so add that on top of what we see in 22 and 23, one could argue that our schools are getting safer or just as safe as they've always been. So this is not the point for parents to be concerned about beyond the normal concerns about your kids in school.
You know, Georgia just passed a new mental health bill that requires a mental health coordinator in schools. Will this help out with these fights that are taking place?
I think that's really a great thing. You know, we see these things in other institutions, and I think what it provides is a way for people to mediate, for people to recognize triggers, for someone to see if a student's being bullied, for students to have someone just to come and talk to that's they don't feel judged by. So to have these programs there, to have someone who's trained on site, is only going to help. We do that in police, and we bring those experts on, and so those same things can help with the security and safety of our schools.
I think the report said something about September has some of the highest numbers. I guess kids just now coming back from school. I mean, are we seeing that incidents or things may take place at the home or during your summer vacation, and you come back and you're kind of taking it out on each other? I mean, what is really going on? I mean, especially with that month in particular.
Well, possibly it's also too that reporting picks up pretty much during that month. I still need to dig in the data, but things that happen in September, did they happen in August or things like that? So there could be a timing thing. But we often know when things come back open for business, people are coming along together. We don't know our boundaries. We don't have decorum as well. Things can pop off. And also, routine activities. When you have more people in places, perhaps offenders have more targets oftentimes. And that's why it's important to target harden the school campus, because remember, what we're seeing are not just people involved with the school. These are also people outside who may have committed a crime on campus or been victimized nearby campus. So that's really important to separate what's the school's responsibility and what's going on in the neighborhood. And that particular data does not give that information so clearly.
Dr. Thaddeus Johnson, always a pleasure to talk to you. Always good insight, my friend. Thanks so much.
Thank you for having me.
All right, take care. All right, folks, not going to be hot. I mean, we talked about a lot of crime that happens when it gets hot outside. Not going to be the case today, so that should be lower. We're looking at temperatures right around 83 degrees. That's below our average for this time of year. And with lower humidity, lower dew points, it's going to feel pretty good as well. We'll stay right there for much of the week. The rain doesn't come back to us until we get to Friday, and it's a very low threat. We'll hold on to that for Saturday and Sunday as well. Don't go anywhere, folks. We're back right after this. Yesterday on Meet the Press, Russia's foreign minister underscored how far apart Ukraine and Russia remain even after efforts for peace were made by the White House. Joining us now is NBC Washington correspondent Alice Barr. Hello, Alice. How far are the gaps, and does it put a damper on the president's hope for a swift end to this war in Ukraine?
Good morning, Chesley. It does seem to, because we heard from Sergei Lavrov, the Russian foreign minister, really a very established figure in Russia, who's one of the few people who can kind of speak with some kind of authority on behalf of the Putin administration there. He said that there is no meeting planned between Russian President Vladimir Putin and Ukrainian President Zelensky. And he said that Putin was willing to meet with Zelensky when the agenda would be ready for a summit. And he said the agenda is not ready at all. He also noted that key issues, including security guarantees for Ukraine and disputes over territory, remain unresolved, accusing Zelensky of being inflexible, of saying no to everything, and in fact, really attacking the legitimacy of Zelensky's leadership in Ukraine. That in itself may be one of the most troubling aspects, because he said, how can we meet with a person who is pretending to be a leader? And if they're not going to recognize him as the true leader of Ukraine, then will they ever overcome that?
Yeah. Also on Meet the Press yesterday, Alice, was J.D. Vance. He was confident that the U.S. could still broker a deal to end the war. Given all that has been said now and all that's on the table, is that still realistic?
Yeah, I mean, these are the two very different views that are emerging now as we've seen this urgent push for diplomacy over the past couple of weeks. You have those new statements from Russia, but then from Vice President J.D. Vance, he pointed to progress after President Trump met separately with Russian President Putin and with Ukrainian President Zelensky and called that the energetic diplomacy that's going to bring this war to a close. He also was asked on NBC's Meet the Press whether Russia is stringing President Trump along, and he said not at all, that he thinks the Russians have made significant concessions to President Trump for the first time in 3.5 years of this conflict, and said that the administration would continue to press ahead until it reaches a resolution or reaches a brick wall. He said even if it reaches a brick wall, it will continue to push for negotiations. That brick wall, though, is looking fairly sturdy this morning.
Yeah. Let's switch gears here a little bit, Allison. We got some new developments that the president has pushed to deploy National Guard troops on the streets of America in some American cities. What's the latest on that?
So beginning here in Washington, where we know there have been National Guard troops for the past couple of weeks now, they are now armed. For the first time overnight, we started to see firearms on the hips of these National Guard troops who are out and about, mainly pistols, but in rare occasions there are also rifles being carried. They are officially authorized, according to a defense official, for self-protection and as a last resort in response to an imminent threat of death or serious bodily injury. And they're also, the National Guard troops that are armed are wearing MP patches to signify their role as military police. That's another interesting development. At least 6 Republican-led states are also sending in their own troops as reinforcements, and President Trump is now promising to expand the crackdown beyond the nation's capital. He's spoken about New York, we saw that there was some action in Los Angeles already. He's spoken about Baltimore and specifically Chicago, he said would be the next one up. Violent crime in Chicago has often drawn headlines, but according to the city's police statistics, murders, robberies, and shootings are all down now more than 30% this year, and the Democratic mayor in that city is pushing back forcefully against any movement to bring troops in there.
All right, Alice Barr, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. All right, Georgia Works is growing. We're going to talk to the president and CEO about how the new location will help out. That's coming up. This is The Take. We're back right after this. Welcome back to the show. The Atlanta-based nonprofit Georgia Works is planting new routes on some very historic turf. The group is moving to the historic Oddfellows building on Auburn Avenue with the goal continuing its mission to help men transition out of homelessness back into the workforce. With more on this is Darlene Schultz. She is the president and CEO of Georgia Works. Welcome to the show, Darlene.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
You know, I understand you've been waiting for this for a mighty long time.
For sure, for sure. I've been on the board of directors for Georgia Works since the very beginning, and was hired as the CEO just over 5 years ago. And the board's first mandate, excuse me, to me was to figure out a way to have our own facility. So we are very grateful to have fundraised about $15 million in order to purchase and rehab the Oddfellows building. Mm-hmm. And we hope to be moving in about 2 months.
Wow. What makes you so excited about moving into the heart of Auburn Avenue?
What a glorious corridor that is for the city of Atlanta. And it's rich with history. The Oddfellows building is probably the largest footprint in the Auburn corridor. And we're going to be able to put our housing division, our program participants, and our corporate offices in this 40,000 square foot historic structure.
Yeah. You guys were based in the center of Pryor Street in Southwest. And is this the right time? Is this the right timing to be moving? I know you're excited about it, but is it the right time?
Yes, well, we're currently housed on the second floor of the Gateway Center, and we are very thankful for the partnership that we've had with Gateway since our inception in 2013. But the Gateway Center was the very first City of Atlanta jail. So the quarters are a bit cramped, a little bit tight. So this will allow us to spread out and, even provide more resources for our men as they are moving through the program.
Yeah. You mentioned a $13 million project, a big investment for people and a place. What do you hope folks will look back and say about this move 5 to 10 years from now?
They're going to say, hopefully, Chesley, that we have served so many more men by moving into the Oddfellows building. Right now, we're serving probably about 200 men per year. And we hope to, at least double that over the next few years, and maybe even expand to another spot in the downtown area for Georgia Works for Women one day soon.
Ah, that would be nice, right? Would that move be close by to where you are now, or where you're moving to?
Gosh, I hope so. Yeah. The reason we focused on men when we launched Georgia Works in 2013 was because the point-in-time count that year showed that 70% of that unsheltered population were male. So that's why we focused on men in the beginning. And we've definitely helped lower the number of homeless people on the streets of Atlanta. Our focus now is going to the men that are coming out of incarceration. So we're moving toward a judicial outreach at this stage.
Yeah, Darlene, you're very focus oriented here. So what's the next big goal for Georgia Works? Is it more housing, more jobs, or well, you talk about more expansion already. So what is it? What's the next big move here?
The big move would be to stand this building up and have Mayor Dickens and Governor Kemp, who helped us with this, to look at this building and look at our program, a workforce development program for men, and say, you know what, this can be replicated elsewhere, and let us have an Athens Works or a Chicago Works. But it's a very replicable program, and it works. We've graduated over 1,100 men from our program, saving you and I, as taxpayers in the state of Georgia, over $40,000 per man.
Yeah. What's the motto? Quickly tell me, what's the motto? What's the secret to the sauce there for a program like this working?
The big secret is that the men are coming into this program clean, sober, and drug-free. They're making that commitment to make that big change in their life, and they're moving through the program in 6 to 8 months, and they're graduating during that time frame with a full-time job offer. We've saved money on their behalf, and we've provided them with a safe and secure place to live. So that's what makes it work. It's a little bit different than Housing First in that it's a clean, sober, and drug-free program, but that is what has made it successful to date.
Darlene Schultz, I'm wishing you more success, thanking you for all that you're doing for our community. Keep up the good work, and I hope you expand some more, right? And whatever we can do to help you out, we're going to do it.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
All right, take care now. It costs to eat out, Yeah, we're going to talk about how costly it has become here lately when my good friend joins us. This is The Take. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back. Dinner on demand is easy, but it's costing us more than what you may think. A new survey dishes out the real price of this convenience. A new CNET Consumer Insight survey shows the average American spends more than $230 a month on restaurant and takeout. As for the food already in the fridge and the cupboards, well, around $125 of it is wasted each month. Despite this, most U.S. adults have not tried meal kits, citing that the cost is the main deterrent. All right, time to bring in friend of the show and financial expert, Andrew Pools. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Good morning, Chesley. How are you?
All right. All right. So is this eating out thing, eating away at our paychecks, is that what's going on here?
It certainly is, man. If you've gone out to eat anything lately, whether it's dine-in or fast food, you will realize how expensive things have gotten, especially since the pandemic with rising food prices. It's gotten expensive. People are looking for alternatives, but we're starting to see a lot more people looking also for healthier options.
That's true. I am one who now tries to look for healthier options, and it should be driving us to eat more at home, but we're not doing it, right?
We're not. Look, demand, work schedules, demand, family life, just drive us all to try to find the cheapest and quickest option a lot of times, and that is what drives us out to eat out, which drives our cost up, right? So eating out certainly is not healthy. The healthier option is, of course, at home. But if you eat at home, that means you got to go to the grocery store, you got to buy the food, the ingredients, have time to cook, put it all together. So it really depends on what you like. For me, look, there's nothing that beats getting a nice fresh steak, throwing it on the grill, and enjoying what I'm eating.
I know what you mean. Hunger will drive us to do a lot of things, right? Do you think maybe that psychologically we just don't know how much it's actually costing us to eat out, and we just at the end of the month we look and say, whoa, where did all my money go? Is that what's happening here?
Yeah, listen, I would be inclined to say that most people do not look to see really how much you're spending, whether it's eating out, whether it's how much you're spending at the grocery store, trying to be a little more frugal, spending less. The challenge is that a lot of times, even going to the grocery store, we're not super careful as to how much we're spending. We'll go in there, we'll grab what we need, and we'll grab a few things that we don't need. It's precisely why my wife, Chesley, prohibits me from going to the grocery store. She does all the shopping. She sends me to the grocery store. For 2 things, I come back with a bag full, and then, she starts yelling at me as to why I overspent. So that's exactly what happens with a lot of people. We'll go in there, we see so many things on the store shelf, and we start picking things that we don't need. We take it home, and it all goes to waste.
It all goes to waste. That's what we're going to talk about now, right? Is that just poor planning on our parts here?
Poor planning. A lot of times we think we're going to have time to cook and do this and do that and create more meals, and we really don't. It's that, again, that time, the demand, the work, family life balance pretty much that becomes difficult, and so things just go to waste. And if you look at this CNET study, there's probably a good 100, 125, upwards of $150 a month that goes to waste on food that we buy that we never use. And that's why these meal kit service companies are becoming more and more popular for some folks. Some just depends on the demographic of people if they want to try it or not. A lot of people don't like it. If you look at the survey, because they feel that they get into a subscription service, and that's just one more thing they have to subscribe to and spend money that they may not use.
So how do we do it? You mentioned having to juggle the school, the work, sports, getting the kids here, there, all that. What's the best way you think to handle all that, to juggle all that?
Yeah, I think, look, it starts off with finances. You got to figure out what works best for your family first, right? Whether it's the meal kit service, where it comes fresh, ready, not much cooking or preparing or planning, or whether it's cooking at home. Everyone has a different lifestyle. Some folks are where they have time to cook at home and go grocery shopping. Others do not. They just pick up something, fast food. So you got to sort of figure out what works best for you, but it all starts with the budget. You got to watch the budget and figure out how much per month you want to spend, and then figure out from there what's going to work for you. Is it going to be a Blue Apron? Is it going to be a Hello Fresh? Is it going to be going to the grocery store and buying and cooking? Or do you stick with what a lot of people are doing? They're driving to work or back home. They catch fast food on the way because they don't have time for anything.
Wow. Especially looking for healthier options. Healthier options cost more. So
they do.
Yeah,
they do. Healthier options is what basically is the expensive part, and that's what people can't gravitate towards because they can't afford it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, you're going to have to cut back on those ties and pocket squares, my friend, to help save.
I'll do that if it means a good old-fashioned steak, and the next one I put on the grill, you're coming over for dinner.
Absolutely. You got it. Andrew, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate you.
Take care, Chesley.
All right. When we come back, Zach Merchant's going to join us. He's going to talk about how immigration enforcement is intensifying. We'll be back right after this. Immigration enforcement is intensifying under the Trump administration, and now local law enforcement in Georgia is playing a role in growing efforts here. 11Alive investigative reporter Zach Merchant has looked at the data behind those who are being arrested and what's happening once they're flagged for ICE. Zach, welcome back to the show.
Chesley, always good to be here, always good to see you.
Yeah, why did you want to report on this in the first place?
Well, look, it is no secret, right? Immigration enforcement has been at the forefront of our political conversation, both in Georgia and around the country for a long time now, especially as we look back in the last 12 to 18 months. It was a huge focal point in the 2024 presidential election, and it's a big topic that has a lot of different perspectives. It sparks really strong emotions, right? What we wanted to do is try to dig into the actual data and get a snapshot of who is being arrested, what they're being charged for, and what is happening to them. That was our goal of this project.
Yeah. So what did you uncover?
Well, as with anything, especially in a big topic like this, we want to be really clear off the front. This is just a snapshot. We are not able to encapsulate every item, every arrest, every person whose experiences brings them under the kind of purview of immigration enforcement. That said, we did take the snapshot. We looked at there are about 31 agencies in Georgia that are part of what's known as the 287G program. That's a local and federal partnership where local law enforcement agencies can share information with federal immigration authorities like ICE. We took a look at data from about a dozen of those local agencies, and we reviewed more than 600 incidents of people being arrested and then having their information shared with federal authorities.
What did the data reveal?
Well, look, when we're talking about this 287G program, these local authorities, they are not primarily enforcing immigration laws. They've got to arrest you, they've got to pull you over for a state charge, a local charge. That's where they have their authority. What we found is that almost half of all of the people in these 600 arrests that got flagged for ICE almost half of them were initially stopped, initially arrested by local law enforcement authorities for not particularly serious charges. We're talking about 47% of these arrests were for traffic charges. There were another about 10 to 15% that were for DUIs, which are, not to say it's not serious, but only something about 10 to 15% of the arrests that we were able to uncover through our research were for more serious violent crimes.
All right, what did ICE have to say about this?
We tried to get their perspective in our reporting, and ultimately we were never able to do so. We spent weeks going back and forth with communication staffers for ICE and their Southeast Division, asked them to sit with us for an on-camera interview, which is obviously, of course, what we prefer to do. We want to make sure everybody has a chance to share their perspective. Even went one step beyond that and said, hey, if you don't want to sit down with us, can you answer some written questions? Never ultimately agreed. We never got those answers from them.
Wow. All right. What about supporters or opponents to the efforts? What do they have to tell you?
Well, like with anything, and particularly a controversial issue like immigration enforcement, opponents argue, and we talked with one woman who is an immigration attorney. She's got experience in this field. She primarily defends people who are arrested and brought into the immigration enforcement system. She raised some big red flags, and she said she worries that this enhanced immigration enforcement is overreach. Of course, on the other side, we also talked to Georgia State House Majority Leader Chuck F. Strachan. He's a Republican. He helped shepherd a bill through the state legislature last year. That's House Bill 1105. And that was really the catalyzing moment that brought this 287G local federal partnership kind of into more prominence. And he made the argument that I'm sure you have heard, we have heard a lot on the campaign trail. He said, look, if you want to come into the United States, you got to follow the immigration laws. And if you don't, this immigration enforcement can be the consequences of your decisions.
Yeah. All right, Zach, really appreciate it. Looking forward to your report tonight, man.
Thanks, Chesley. Appreciate you.
All right, and you can catch Zach's full report tonight on 11 Alive News at 11 and right here on 11 Alive Plus. Of course, we'll all be watching. And if you have a tip you want Zach to investigate, you can call him at 404-873-9111 or email him at investigates@11alive.com. All right, this past week, the Trump administration rolled back federal guidance on how schools should serve students learning English. The move includes rescinding a 2015 letter issued jointly by the U.S. Department of Education and Justice detailing how schools should meet EL students' needs under civil rights law. Nearly all the staff at the office, in the Office of English Language Acquisitions were let go, and funding for the EL programs were being targeted for elimination. This aligns with President Trump's executive order back in March declaring English as the official language of the United States. Explaining moves, an education department spokesman said states having vast different needs for the important population of students and are best equipped to determine how best to educate the students following all the applicational federal laws. Back with us now is Vidalia Turner, president of the Georgia Federation of Teachers. Welcome to the show again. Can you hear me? Okay, I think I'm having a problem hearing you. We'll try it now. When you first learned of the administration was rescinding this guidance, what went through your mind as an educator and a union leader here in Georgia?
Well, this is just one more layer of scaffolding of the Trump administration's attempt to deal with immigrations and immigrants in any way that they deem to want to do so. What Donald Trump has done is actually illegal. Now, the question is whether or not states will enforce it and whether or not the Department of Justice will be loyal to the Constitution of the United States and Congress, or whether or not they're going to be loyal to Donald Trump. These students, and this has been going on since the Supreme Court about 50 years ago, decided that in order for English language learners, that's where English is not your first language, to be able to be proficient in English and for their careers to be a great careers and for them to learn and to be literate, that it was necessary to enforce part of the 1964 Civil Rights Act under Title VI. It's necessary to have these programs for students, and it's been going on now for about 50 years. This program also, or the law, I won't say program, I'll say the law, also affects the parents, the homes, the community at large. We think that this is unjustified, it is full, and there is no way it can be justified of saving money. It's actually going to cost us. But that's what went through my head. It's just one more way of trying to strike everyone that, and Chelsea, if I may say it, that doesn't fit the mold for 1930, 1940, 1950 in this country that made America whatever it was at that time.
Yeah. As you just heard, supporters of this move say states and districts know their students best. Do you see local controls as a strength or a risk in this case?
Local control is a strength, but the Trump administration is scrapping right now to make sure there is no local control. The state has always been in charge of education, not the federal government, and it's best that we have those local boards of education because they have different people they have to serve, and we're different throughout the state and the country, although we do have standards. But it's best for those local boards of education to implement what they see necessary in terms of personnel and the type of students and families to implement the law, and that's what is intended in Title VI for those local boards of education is to be in charge.
Yeah. If federal oversights are gone, what protections are left for students?
Well, first of all, federal oversights are not gone. The law still stands. When Donald Trump last month put his edict out or an order, and the Department of Justice sent a note around to federal agencies that they did not have to enforce this law. In essence, that's what it was. The Department of Justice is out of line. So the law still stands. We're glad to see that the Department of Education here in the state of Georgia is funding our schools appropriately now. We had to fight through that because the Trump administration had decided to withhold federal dollars that Congress had already voted on. So now the real deal and the real question here, Chelsea, is whether or not the Department of Education, because we already know the Department of Education and the Department of Justice has oversight on that ELL and ESOL program. We know that the Department of Education has done it. They cannot enforce everything because personnel now has been depleted and etc.
Okay.
So the question is whether or not even our Attorney General going forward, we'll send a letter out to him today, will enforce the law.
Gotcha. All right. Ms. Fidelity Turner, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate your insight.
Thank you.
All right. New numbers are out about the kind of cars we like. We'll get a check on them with CNN's Maribel Aber when we return. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to the show. The U.S. just picked up a surprising share in a tech giant. CNN's Maribel Aber joins us now from the NASDAQ market site in New York. Hello, Maribel. From car prices to smartphones to sounds like the ripple effect could be hitting our pocketbooks as well.
Good morning, Chesley. That's right. So the U.S. government has bought this roughly 10% stake in Intel. The $8.9 billion investment is an effort to boost computer chip making in the U.S. President Trump has been looking to cement the U.S. as a leader in the global semiconductor industry, and the deal gives the U.S. government a passive ownership stake in Intel. It doesn't include any representation on the company's board, though, Chesley.
All right. The White House signaling a new round of tariffs. This one could actually hit our living rooms.
Straight to what we sit on, furniture is being targeted for tariffs by President Trump. Trump said Friday that the U.S. is investigating imported furniture. In a social media post, he said, once the investigation is over, furniture will be hit with tariffs. He said the tariffs will bring the furniture business back to North Carolina, South Carolina, Michigan, other states. Shares of Wayfair and other furniture home goods companies are down. It looks like, Wayfair's down, Chesley, 7%.
Wow. All right. Well, new figures out about the kind of cars that we like, and it turns out the happiest cars don't purr, they rumble.
It's a big following for Subaru. They've grabbed that top spot in the survey of customer satisfaction for automakers. Subaru was cited for leaning into its reputation for safety and dependability. It's seen strong sales growth, which is expected to continue, thanks in part to its redesigned Forester. The American Customer Satisfaction Index is based on more than 9,000 surveys of auto customers. Toyota and Mazda tied for second, while Ford and Chevy came in around the middle of the list of automakers. The Stellantis brands Jeep, Dodge, Chrysler, and Ram were all down at the bottom of the 16 mass market automakers, and of those slots, Ram saw the most significant decline from last year's survey results. You know, Chesley, Subaru's loyal fans once again prove that love and reliability are what makes Subaru Subaru.
Hey, you like what you like. You like what you like. We're also hearing that Meta's next generation glasses come with a wristband because I guess our eyeballs need a sidekick or something like that.
Don't we all? Well, I'm your sidekick. Okay, first, a whole combination from Meta, all of this as it pushes deeper into smart glasses. The tech giant is getting ready to launch 2 new smart glasses. The glasses will debut at Meta's annual Connect conference. That's happening next month, according to CNBC. And one of the offerings will be Meta's first ever consumer-ready smart glasses with a small display in the right lens. That product is codenamed Hypernova. It's expected to sell for about $800. Meta is also planning to offer a wristband, allowing users to control the glasses with hand gestures. So Chesley, forget blue light or fashion frames. These glasses are built to replace your screen. Just don't drive with them.
Or do something when your hands control it. That's what you're saying?
That's right. You have your hands. You can see, but still, you don't want to drive with them.
Right, don't drive with them. Don't drive. Well, somebody else will be doing that by then. We're driverless cars now, you know, so it all fits in.
Oh, if you're in the back seat, then all right.
Thanks so much, Maribel. Really appreciate you.
You got it.
All right, take care. Folks, don't go anywhere. When we return, we're going to talk to a real history maker. Stay tuned for this. Welcome back to the show. History was made earlier this month as Army veteran Carol Whitmore shattered a 125-year barrier, becoming the first woman ever to lead the Veterans of Foreign Wars, or the VFW for short. Her story is one of service, sacrifice, and trailblazing leadership, proof that the fight for veterans doesn't end when the uniform comes off. And joining us now is Carol Whitmore. Carol, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be on here.
Hey, we want to say thank you for your service. And my first question to you is, when you raised your hand to join the Women's Army Corps back in 1977, did you ever imagine one day you'd be leading the VFW?
Not ever. And it is such an opportunity. I'm so grateful for this opportunity to make sure that I can advocate for my fellow veterans who don't have that voice, who don't have the opportunity that I do to advocate on their behalf, especially on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. And that is one of my biggest focuses this year, is to make sure that we get our benefits and our everything that we deserve, that we've earned.
125 years, you're the first woman to ever lead the VFW. What went through your mind when you realized that?
Again, you know, it's a little surreal because, you know, it has typically been a male-dominated area, but I never felt unwelcome. And I know not every female experiences that, but I just never accepted not being able to be part of the organization. And sometimes you just have to have that gumption about you to make sure that people understand that I served. I'm a veteran. I just happen to be female, and I served over 36 years, and so that longevity, I think, gave me a lot of credibility in the Veterans of Foreign Wars' eyes. Yeah.
You've said, we fight for those who can't. Can you give an example of how that mission drives you today?
Oh, it is, you know, it is such an honor to do what I do, and it's a privilege, and I know that. There are so many veterans that suffer from toxic exposure still from Iraq, Afghanistan, even Camp Lejeune and Fort McClellan, and they don't have the voice that I do on Capitol Hill. And so it is my duty, my obligation to make sure that those rights are heard in Washington, D.C., especially the Richard Starr Act, which has gone on shamefully for over 15 years without being passed, and that is our concurrent receipt to receive your pension and disability. They're two different pots of money, and right now that's not the case.
Yeah.
So it is my job to make sure that that happens this year.
Gotcha. Leading an organization this size comes with its challenges, obviously. How will you hold you and your members accountable for the mission of service and advocacy?
You know, they know that's my number one forethought for this year. I have an incredible class of commanders, one right here in Georgia, Bill Miles. He is an incredible Army veteran also, and they all know that the very first focus of my year is advocacy for all veterans, not just combat veterans, but all veterans.
Yeah. What role has your family played in helping you reach this moment?
Oh, my husband has been incredible. He has supported me unconditionally in all of this. He is a Vietnam veteran, and, you know, he has suffered from Agent Orange, as well as a lot of, and most Vietnam veterans have. And so that, again, was a driving force to make sure that every veteran is taken care of that has had those type of exposures. And you know, that is the number one thing that I have on my mind.
Yeah. What do you hope that young women serving in uniform today take away from seeing you at the helm of the VFW?
Oh, my hope is that they all believe that they can do this. You know, it's not about taking a secondary backseat to anything anymore. There are so many incredible women out there that have the strength and courage to be leaders, and I hope that you know, I can inspire them in some small way to say, I can do this, I can be a leader, I can have that voice also that she does.
You're doing it in a big way in our site. Carol Whitmore, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for your service. Thank you for all that you do for our community. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
All right. Folks, we're going to have another look at your forecast and my final take when we come back. We are looking at a very pleasant afternoon. Plenty of sunshine around the forecast area. It's going to feel pretty good out there. We had a front move through the area this morning, and it's now down to the south of us. Refreshing air coming in. 83 degrees for the afternoon high temperature. A little bit below our average for this time of year, but we'll take it. 82 for the high temperature on Tuesday. I think a few more clouds will be around during the morning. By the afternoon, they're looking to clear out. We're looking at mostly sunny skies on Wednesday, 83 for the high temperature. Thursday, a few more clouds will work back into the forecast area. We'll have a mix of sun and clouds, but no rain coming out of the clouds. Then I think the rain starts on Friday, and right now it's a low threat. We'll give it a 30% chance on Friday for an isolated shower or thunderstorm, and we'll hold on to that low threat as we head into the upcoming weekend. Now, that could change, right? And so we'll be watching it for you, but right now, a very low threat. And look at those temperatures. They stay in the low 80s, even the overnight lows down into the low 60s. So starting off in the mornings, folks, you're going to need that extra layer, maybe a sweater or a track jacket, something like that, to help you keep you nice and comfortable, I guess, standing at the bus stop in the morning. Enjoy while you got it. All right, a record was broken this weekend when it comes to the highest selling sports card. A 2007-2008 Upper Deck Collection dual logo man basketball card sold for a record-breaking $12.932 million. And you're probably guessing, well, who was on that card? If you're thinking LeBron James, you're thinking wrong. The card featured the logo patches from the jerseys of Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, along with their photos and signatures on there. I know some of you are saying, well, is it worth all that? Well, the auction says the demand for the card was so astronomical, they started the bidding at $6 million. Of course, it exceeded that, almost doubled that. Well, did double that, right? Making it the most expensive card in history. The previous card was a mint condition 1952 Topps Mickey Mantle baseball card that sold for $12.6 million. Because of Kobe Bryant's tragic death in 2020, that will be the only card of its kind. So it is worth something. Now the buyer decided not to be identified, but I want to know who this person is. Who makes this kind of money to be spending on a Topps card? $12 million for a card? Man, you know how much you can do with that? That's all we got for you today, folks. Make it a great one. Try to encourage someone. And if you got $12 million, hook a brother up. Jeez, $12 million.